As Black sheep, we feel chronically behind. It is so easy to look around and compare ourselves to everyone else and feel like we haven't accomplished anything, feel like we haven't hit any of the milestones that we see people hit around us. By the end of this podcast episode, I will show you why you are actually the one who's ahead.
Your low self-worth ends here. Welcome to Becoming Enough, a podcast dedicated to breaking down your experience as a Black sheep and understanding how that impacts your self-worth. Your experience as a Black sheep and cycle breaker is unique, and it's time we finally started to talk about it.
What's up, Black sheep, and welcome to another episode of Becoming Enough. My name is Roshni. I'm your host, a self-worth coach, a tarot reader, and the founder of Black Sheep Experience, where we rebuild our self-worth after surviving our childhoods. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about timing. We're about to hit New Year's Eve, and whether or not you believe in the new year actually starting on January 1st, there's still a collective conversation around goals for the community, what we should be doing. There's a lot of reflection over the last year happening. There is comparison, and this is like a really heightened time where we are brought into everyone else's lives, whether it's your favorite creators, whether it's people you've never seen before. There's constantly this comparison and this conversation about what one person's doing versus another. If you're anything like me, I didn't go home for any of the holidays this year, and it was a really good decision on my part, but most holiday seasons I'm being compared to other people in the family. I am being put down. I am being insulted, really, and it really puts into perspective my experiences. And I've had so many flights home or flights coming back to where I live now from visiting my hometown and my family, and just feeling like absolute garbage and knowing that my nervous system is going to need like a month to bounce back from what I've just been through and how difficult it was. So if that is you, I am sending you so much love, and I just felt really inspired to remind you, Black sheep, that you are actually so ahead. And this isn't just about trusting the timing and trusting the universe. This is about understanding your role in your family's lineage, understanding your role as the cycle breaker. So here's the thing, Black sheep. As cycle breakers, which we all are, if you identify as the Black sheep of your family, you don't fit in because you see everything that's wrong in the family dynamic. You can see right through it. You know it isn't for you. And whether you've already broken cycles, whether you are currently figuring out how to break these cycles, you are still the cycle breaker in your family. And when you have that role, you are doing something that generations and generations in your family could not tolerate to do. You are doing something that every person before you in at least the last 3 or 4 generations, which is probably all we really know or can remember in our family lineage, at least these few generations did not have the courage to look these cycles in the face, to be self-reflective, to be aware, to care enough about their impact on the people around them in order to have that awareness about themselves. They haven't had the courage to change. They haven't had the courage to even be able to name the cycles that they should be breaking. And you have done every single one of those things from such a young age. You have understood every cycle. You have been self-aware enough to know the role that you are playing within these cycles. You have reflected on what they are and how you're contributing to them and what you need to learn. You have then looked at a greater pattern to see that it not only impacted you, these certain cycles or these moments of heartbreak, but then you've seen that these same cycles and patterns, even if people react to them in different ways, they have impacted every other generation of your family in recent history, if not further back. And every single person that came across these cycles did not have the courage, the ability, or the awareness to break them. Only you have done that. Only you have even been strong enough to look at these cycles, let alone break them. So let's pause and pump the brakes for a minute. because you're over here wondering about why you're not at this certain salary marker yet, or why you haven't met the love of your life yet, or whatever. And these are very valid concerns. Don't let me, say that they're not. But you're worried about these little tiny things, and you're forgetting how much work you have already done. You're forgetting how far you have already come. And for most of us, surviving alone was a massive feat. The previous generations in our family have barely survived. And for some people, this was not something that was within their control. For some people and some ancestors that we have, this was forced oppression. This was colonization. This was capitalism. This was the forces that be, the powers that be, trying to systematically take us down. So whether it was of all of our family's own doing or not, these were the things that they were put through, and they had no choice but to survive. And yes, they survived. And they did what they could. But there were so many moments where they could have done so much better. And we need to stop. This is obviously going to depend on the scenario and all of that. But I'm talking about the people in your family who should have known better, who should have done better. And so many people want to say, oh, well, it's your parents' first time living. Okay, it's mine too, and I still don't treat people like that. If anything, they have decades on me, and I still don't treat people like that, way younger than they were. I've gotten to the age that they were at certain points in my upbringing, and I still haven't felt like I needed to treat other people that way. So people give us all these excuses and all these reasons for why these previous generations couldn't have done any better, but they could have. Because some of our family members went out of their way to hurt us. It's one thing to have certain things that happen as a byproduct of survival. If your parent was working 3 jobs, yeah, you probably felt emotionally neglected. But there's a difference between that person who was always gone but who still showed you some love, and that person who was always gone and yelled at you, showed you resentment, intentionally neglected you even if they were physically around you, put you down, made you feel like garbage for even existing. There is a massive difference, and we're not conflating the two here. So we take these people who in many instances could have done this much better at the very least, who could have at least not gone out of their way to make us miserable, who could have at the very least been self-aware about how their actions are impacting people, how their actions are impacting their children at least. And they didn't do that. For you to be that person in your lineage who has taken the time to break the cycles, you are so far ahead of what so many people have done. So we've understood that. We know that we have had the courage to look at, become aware of, and break cycles that so many people in our lineage were way too afraid to do. And not only, let's also talk about where these cycles started, because someone in the family had to start these cycles. Yes, there is oppression. Yes, there is colonization. Yes, there is capitalism. And a lot of the things that happen to us in our lineages, especially as people of color, were not done on purpose. It wasn't anything that people in our families or lineages have asked for. And some of these things that they have developed that were harmful cycles are just straight up reactions to the oppression that they faced. And that is on one hand. And on the other hand, so many of these people also developed coping mechanisms as a response to these battles that they faced. And so is it fair? No. But also the coping mechanisms at a certain point were creating harm. And instead of them saying, you know what? We went through this BS, but the worst thing I can do for my family and for my children is to continue this pattern of abuse. I need to stop. Instead of doing that, they doubled down on it. Right? Thinking about even things like, trigger warning, talking about substance abuse, but alcoholism is something that so many people, especially a lot of communities of color, have developed as a coping mechanism for the survival mode that they have been in. And it started out as an escape, but If you are noticing that that is preventing you from coming home to your wife or your husband or your partner, if that is preventing you from taking care of your children, if you're out drinking and gambling at all hours of the night and just completely neglecting or abandoning your family, at a certain point, self-awareness is required, and it does not matter what has happened to you for you to create that. It is your duty and your responsibility to break that cycle. And for so many ancestors who came before you, even ancestors who are still alive, they did not have the courage or the ability to break that cycle, but you did. You are the person that that cycle ends with. So when I say zoom out, this is a reminder that this is not about you getting that one corporate job. This is not about you finding the love of your life. This is so much deeper, and it is about a cycle that has gone on for hundreds and hundreds of years that only you have had the power to break. So let's start there. You have had the power to break these cycles. You have been the one who's had the courage to say, this is enough, never again. To an extent, maybe some of these cycles needed to be played out. Maybe you needed to have more of your needs met in order to be able to have grounding under you to break those cycles, sure. But there are also some of you who had nothing. Okay, if you are like me, you were alone, you felt alone your entire childhood. You had no resources, physical, material, emotional, spiritual. You had nothing. You had to create the ground under your feet. You had to create enough of a foundation for you to even stand upon. And not only did you create that foundation, but you created a whole new perspective, a whole new mindset, a whole new way of life, a whole new way to act, a whole new code of ethics. You created all of that from nothing. So when we say that you are a cycle breaker, you have truly created a new world. This is why I say that cycle breakers are world builders. We have had to build a new world without any guidebook, without any lessons, without any support, without any resources. So I'm going to need you to not feel behind. I'm going to need you to recognize how far ahead you've been this entire time. And let's take a minute here because we get that, okay? You're the cycle breaker. You've done the thing that generations of your family haven't been able to do. Let's pause there and talk about all the people that we're comparing ourselves to. Let's talk about the people who are our peers, the people that we look and see on social media or from our hometown or our colleagues, our coworkers, whoever's around us that we are comparing ourselves to and thinking, God, they are so ahead. God, they have their degree already. They're already married and on their second kid. They're already blah, blah, blah. Whatever those things are that you are wanting for yourself or that you look around and you see other people have already done, other people have already accomplished. Okay, let's take a minute there to really see how many of these people are actually walking in their authenticity. Because one thing about a black sheep, one thing about a cycle breaker is that we have no tolerance for inauthenticity. In this conversation of timing, there is a fork in the road where all of us can either follow our higher selves, this path that's in conversation with the universe. I don't know how else to say it. This path that is our purpose, this path that feels divine. Or we can listen to our ego. We can listen to what other people want for us. We can listen to what other people's limiting beliefs are about the universe, about the world, and about us, and go in that path. And so think about this in terms of a college degree, right? Say you are looking at all the people around you who are making six figures in a nice corporate job, and you feel like you are so behind in your income. You feel like you are so behind in your career and what you want to accomplish and what you want to do. And you're just like, is it ever going to be my turn? Am I ever going to get there? Well, let's zoom backwards into college, right? Because the person who has the six-figure corporate job, maybe they went to college. They don't have to, but maybe they did, right? The person that you're comparing yourself to. Well, maybe their freshman year, they wanted to major in art. But everyone around them told them that they wouldn't make any money if they did that. They wouldn't be able to last. Their talent wouldn't exist. People didn't understand social media back then. And so They said, fine, I'll just major in finance. And step by step, they had that fork in the road presented to them. And every step of the way, they chose the path that was not authentic, the path that was not created by their higher self, the path that was determined by all these people and all these limitations around them. So then they realize when they have to declare their major that they're not really into it, but they're just going to do it. And then they graduate and they're looking around and all these jobs terrify them, but they're like, I guess I'm just going to have to take it because I don't know what else to do. And then a little bit along the way, their ego starts getting a little massaged. Their ego starts getting a little excited because, hey, I actually graduated, and hey, I actually found a job, and hey, it actually pays well. And so then the people around them, the naysayers, the people that told them not to get the art degree, are congratulating them, and they are getting these surface level rewards. And then they said, okay, well, it felt kind of good to check this box because now I'm getting this validation from people around me. Well, what's the next box? Maybe I just need to get married. Maybe I need to move out. Maybe I need to do this, this, and this. And so they start going down these paths, and then boom, 45 hits, 50 hits, and then they're regretting their entire life. They're having a full-on midlife crisis because for so long, at every opportunity to self-reflect, at every opportunity to choose their higher self, they went the other way around, and they sought after ego, and they sought after validation, and they sought after the surface level thing that wasn't what they really wanted. And so many people will bury their heads in the sand, but you are on the path of alignment. You are on the path of authenticity. You are the one that hesitates because you're trying to figure out if it's actually your intuition leading you on this path. And our intuitions aren't rushing us. They're not forcing us. They're not pushing us. And so everyone else's timeline starts getting louder and it starts screaming at us that we should go this way. We should go this way. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? It's like we are standing on the edge of a cliff trying to figure out the best path to walk down and to do it in a way that feels safe and that feels calm and that feels focused and that feels good. And everyone else is coming up around us and nudging us in this direction and nudging us in another direction. And we're just trying to find ourselves. But so many other people let other people nudge them. They let other people nudge them this way and this way and this way. So sure, yeah, there's movement, but are they moving in the right direction? We get so impatient, especially as Black sheep, because we feel so out of our element. Like, I didn't really know how to be a good friend. I didn't really know how to socialize. I didn't really understand so many unspoken sayings, and part of that is on being neurodivergent, and part of that is being a different culture, and all these things mixed together. But some of it was also just things that I was not taught, or things that even my parents weren't taught, so they couldn't teach me, right? This all started somewhere. And so I didn't even know where to start with being a good friend. I didn't know so many things about what I needed to do, about how I could get to the next place. And so every single thing was so slow in me observing and me learning and me just watching. Me watching how other people were hiking down. Me watching how other people were packing their bags and looking around and assessing the terrain and figuring out how to go there. And in that time where I was watching other people and learning from other people and trying to regain my skill set to be strong enough to hike down this cliff, I was standing still. But when I made those moves, when I finally moved and when I finally did it at my own pace, I was moving in the right direction. Don't let other people nudge you and force you and push you into things that you are not ready for, into things that you don't want to do, because one day or another, we're going to have to wake up to it. We're going to have to answer to it. And you can bury your head in the sand and follow your ego, which I know you as Black sheep are not doing, but that's one option. And maybe things will look good on the outside, but no one's actually asking how you feel because no one cares how you feel. Society wants so many other people to be just as miserable as they are. Society wants so many people to fail or to flail or to just not have any sort of help or any sort of assistance in accomplishing their goals because they are afraid that you are going to surpass them. But you as a Black sheep, you as a cycle breaker are used to surpassing people. You've literally surpassed everyone, all these people in your family in terms of breaking the cycle, in terms of ending the forces that kept you down. You've ended bad habits. You've ended patterns of neglect, patterns of abuse. You have even looked your victim mentality right in the face and decided that you would rather be in your power than to stay a victim, because victims often become abusers. Victims often turn around and do to someone else what they had done to them. And that's a conversation for a whole other episode. But if you are looking around and comparing yourself to other colleagues or other peers around you, just know that you don't actually know if their path is the one that they're supposed to be on. And the thing is, so many people do have the ability to be the cycle breaker. It's not even that you are this big special person. Yes, you are special, and yes, you have a purpose, but it's not that you were forced to do this thing. You were the one who answered the call. We don't know how many other people got that same call of, hey, wake up. Something isn't right. There's work for you to do here. So many people have gotten that call and hung right up. And they have said, no, I'm going to keep doing this thing. I'm not strong enough. I don't want to do that. And you said, bet. You said, this ends with me. So when that happened, that started this journey of you not being able to tolerate inauthenticity. And every step of the way, you are listening to your intuition. You are asking for guidance from your future self, from your higher self, from your guides, from your ancestors, your wise and well ancestors who actually did one day pray for someone to break these cycles. So remember that when you are setting your New Year's goals, now that I say that, it doesn't sound so big anymore, does it? Now that I say that, you don't feel as behind, do you? So when you're setting your goals and you're setting your little quarterly things that you want to hit, and I'm not putting down goals. Goal setting is amazing, and I have massive goals that I'm terrified of, and that helps push me forward, right? So it's not to put down the goals, but it is to say, stop looking at yourself as if you have not accomplished anything. You are so much more accomplished, and it's not a competition, but you need to value yourself. You need to value the work that you have put in, because so much of a cycle breaker's journey is invisible. So many people only see the surface level. They have no idea what's going on beneath the surface. You live beneath the surface. You are the iceberg. You are this whole thing going on here. And some people are just skimming the very surface of the sea, looking around to determine how big you are, how big you are, how big you are, how much of a threat you are, how much of a threat you are. But look at the iceberg that took down the Titanic, okay? It was huge and it was undetectable because it was invisible. So much of your power goes unseen, especially by people who do not have the capacity to see it or hold space for it. So stop using other people's measuring sticks to see how you measure up. Okay, I'm going to wrap this episode up here, but I feel motivated and I hope that this motivated you. And I want to start adding a question to the end of my episodes. So the question for this week's episode is, where in your life are you ahead of the curve? Let's talk about it. Let's refocus. So this can be a journal prompt. This could be something that you pull your own tarot cards on or your own oracle cards on. This is something that you can answer down in the comments and we can read each other's and support each other's. But where in your life are you ahead of the curve? Let's start there and let's focus there, because the more that we create a space for our mind to show us the evidence of what we want more of, the more that we are training ourselves to keep pursuing those things, to keep achieving those milestones. So it's not about what are you lacking and what do you not have and what do you need and how are you going to get there. It is, what have I already gotten? What have I already broken through? What have I already created? Where am I ahead? And that creates the momentum in the correct direction for you to keep going on those different goals that are more tangible. Wishing you all a very, very happy new year. If you consider this your new year, I'm at least wishing you a happy January 1st, a happy start to 2026. If you are ready to take your self-worth to the next level and you want to do this healing work on your own, if you are a DIYer, if you like just being in your own presence and doing this healing work on your own and feeling safe in your own container, the Worthiness Blueprint is for you. This is my self-paced online course for Black Sheep and Cycle Breakers to teach you everything you need to know about healing your self-worth wounds. We're talking about all the ways that your Black Sheep experience created these self-worth wounds, and I created an interactive workbook for you to answer journal prompts on everything you have learned about these wounds that have been created through your Black Sheep experience, connecting it to your day-to-day life now so you know how these things are holding you back, so you know where you need to do the work, so you can essentially create a self-worth healing blueprint for yourself. I've added an EFT round so we can heal through self-worth wounds and create self-worth affirmations that we speak upon while tapping. I do that entire routine with you so you can just sit back and follow along with me and do it and watch it as many times as is helpful to you. I have a somatic body routine where you can completely turn your mind off, follow along with me, using your body to heal your wounds and to regulate your nervous system. It is everything you need in one to get started on your self-worth healing journey, and it is only $50 total, a one-time payment. You can also make 3 payments of $15 over 3 months in order to access it as well, and it is called the Worthiness Blueprint. I'm going to link it in the show notes below in the description if you're on YouTube. It's going to be on my website if you go to blacksheepexperience.com. If you are new to this world and you feel inspired by this and you want to start this work, I recommend starting here. It's also something where you don't feel overexposed or you don't feel too seen. You can just enter this work in your own cocoon, and it's going to be really, really helpful for you to do that, to acclimate to this work and to get into this new world. If you are ready to go one step further, self-worth coaching is for you. This is where we sit down one-on-one, talk about all the things that are holding you back. You can just tell me where it is in life that you're feeling stuck, where you want to move forward but are not able to move forward, and I can help dissect where the self-worth wounds lie, where your Black Sheep experience has colored your perspective and your mindset to keep you stuck in that place. And I give you action steps and mindset shifts that completely help you break open from that limiting belief, from these limiting mindsets, and open yourself up so that you can go on to achieve exactly what it is that you have set for yourself. All of my services and any way to work with me is going to be at blacksheepexperience.com. And remember that you are worthy whether you believe it or not. Love you.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Becoming Enough. Be sure to rate and leave a review of the podcast so that other Black Sheep and Cycle Breakers like you can find us too. Visit blacksheepexperience.com to learn more about how we can work together to elevate your self-worth and eradicate your worthiness wounds for good. Remember that you are worthy whether you believe it or not. I love you so much. Happy healing.